So there's two different forms of remote access. Typically you'll hear remote access VPN or a site-to-site VPN. In this example on the screen, we currently have a site-to-site one where you typically have like a headquarter site and a branch site, and there's different ways to do it. And then you'll hear different terms like GRE, IPSec. Is this a split tunnel versus full tunnel? And what does all that mean? Well, we're going to dive into that next. So first off, what does a VPN solve? I want to route something, maybe my RDP client or a file share across the internet, but I really don't want everybody seeing it. So typically we would create a tunnel, and in that tunnel, we would make it so we send that traffic across there. So think about maybe a business, we have a headquarters site, and we're going out to a branch site, or this even could be between your house and a friend's house or your family's house, and maybe you're sharing different files that you have already. So essentially what it does is we put this into a tunnel, and anything that's going to the other side of that tunnel, for example, say my house is on private network A and your house is on private network B, anything going across that tunnel, it's going to be encrypted or it's going to be tunneled, depending on the mechanism we use for that tunnel. Now, my internet traffic will just go out to the internet, just as normal. So you'll hear a term like GRE, tunneling, and essentially it is a way of tunneling traffic, but it's not encrypted. It's a way to send it and have a tunnel, and depending on your infrastructure and how your infrastructure is set up, might be perfect for your environment. Typically, like if you have an MPLS circuit or you're routing internally, GRE tunnels might be the right choice. Typically, they're lighter weight and a lot less resources, so it's definitely a good option depending on what you're needing. Think about it as like an overlay. If I'm routing inside my network, then yeah, I can do that and have it not encrypted. But if I do need that additional one, then I'll pair that with IPSec to increase my confidentiality. Because if I don't want people to see it, then that's when I want to bring in IPSec. An IPSec tunnel uses algorithms to help us protect our integrity and our confidentiality within our environment. The example we used earlier, maybe at that branch site and we're sending traffic across. With it being in an IPSec tunnel, it's encrypted routing across the internet. Chances are someone won't see my traffic and they'll see that I'm talking to your business or your IP, public IP, but they won't see the actual traffic going on between it. And this is where we get into peer authentication. And without going into too much detail, you can have a agreement between both sides on this is what we agree, and here's my key or certificate, or however we want to build it, we can do that. And if we want to get into a deeper dive on building out IPSec tunnels, we'd be happy to show you how to do that. The other common one is a remote access VPN. This is what you typically think of when you think about your work environment. Maybe I have a laptop and I'm out in the field or working from my house. This is typically what is known as a remote access VPN. There's a couple different types. You can still use an IPSec tunnel, or you can use SSL VPN. SSL VPNs are typically easier and more user-friendly, but it is not the only option you have, or IPSec VPN. And it comes down to how it's administered and how is it configured. Typically, an IPSec VPN can be a little more administratively complex to set up, but it's based off of your identity, the posture of the device, and some DNS decisions. So when we talk about split tunnel versus full tunnel, think about this from a remote access VPN perspective. And this is where a lot of people struggle with a little bit. If I'm on my laptop and I'm streaming maybe YouTube or Spotify, or I'm watching a Blackburn and Tech YouTube video. Yes, quick little plug there. I'm also working, so I'm on my VPN, and I can get to my corporate application. If I'm on a split tunnel, my content to YouTube or to Spotify or whatever, it uses my regular internet. It's not bound for my corporate network. That being said, if I'm in a full tunnel, everything I'm doing on my laptop gets routed to the corporate network and out my corporate WAN interface. Some of the decision factors to come into this is WAN utilization, because the more people you have connecting in, the more bandwidth you need, especially when you're in a full tunnel. And if you have a lot of heavy user applications and a lot of other data going on, this can be quite challenging for your headquarters or wherever you have your VPN at in a full tunnel environment. Either way, you still connect in to your VPN gateway. Could be your firewall, could be just an application, it could be whatever's hosting your VPN service. It depends on how it's routed. And that's the two different ways on that one. You have a trade-off. You have a lot more utilization, a lot more usage, but you also have a lot more content filtering. You can see all the traffic, can be a little more secure, and that's great, but is it worth it for your environment? Maybe I only have a 1 gig internet circuit or less, and I have 100 remote users. If all of them are streaming and doing a bunch of other stuff too, maybe Windows updates or whatever, they're constantly hitting your firewall. That has to hit your internet circuit and back out. Some applications also don't handle full tunnel as well. So it's a trade-off between you and your organization. What makes sense for you and how do you handle it for your needs? So a common misunderstanding is that GRE tunnels, yep, it's secure, I have a GRE tunnel. Well, no, you have a tunnel, but you don't have it encrypted. That being said, depends on your use case. I've seen some environments where you've run GRE tunnels inside of your network to go back to another router to do more restrictions and control. As far as troubleshooting VPNs, most of the time it's not the VPN tunnels down, especially on a site-to-site tunnel. Normally it's something's wrong with a path, a policy, or DNS. And or as a packet size also comes into play because you do have encapsulation, so you don't have all 1,500 bytes. So when you're troubleshooting a VPN tunnel, obviously first, if you're on, check to see if the tunnel is showing as active on your gateway. Factor in some of these. Okay, has anything changed with my routing? Has anything changed with any policies? Or if I made a DNS change? So for a quick decision, if I need to route traffic, but I don't care about if it's encrypted, I can use a GRE tunnel, have a lot less overhead, and it will typically be a lot faster because it doesn't have to encapsulate. If I have a branch site or I need to go across an unknown or an untrusted environment like the internet, you might want to typically do an IPSec site-to-site tunnel. If I have a bunch of users that are wanting to connect in either from their house, coffee shop, or wherever, maybe you need it for your executives on the airplane, might be easier for them to have a remote access VPN that they have installed on their computer, their phone, their tablet, get onto the network that way. And then if they're remote access, do I want them in a full tunnel or do I want them in a split tunnel? And I can vary this up between different users. Maybe my IT team needs to be in a full tunnel, or maybe this group needs to be in a full tunnel, but maybe not this group over here because I know they're going to be out doing a bunch of other cloud applications. So in a nutshell, GRE is encapsulation, IPsec protects your tunnel, remote accesses are for your users, split tunnel versus full tunnel is how is it routing, and what's being inspected and how. Well, I hope this has been informative for you, and thanks for watching another episode of Blackburn in Tech.